morning, defenders, and a happy Sunday to everybody out here. Today, we are going to recap our match from last night with the Houston Dynamo, episode 353, which I'm calling Rainfalls and Falling Short, because that pretty much sums up the feeling of yesterday's matchup, everything that we had looking forward to it. Turned on MLS TV on Apple TV, only to see we were in a weather delay. Kind of fitting. It's happened the last few times we've been down in Houston, or within the last few years. And let's just say the game kind of put a damper on the rest of our evening. But anyway, I want to welcome everybody here to episode 353 of Defenders of the Bank. You know my face by now, and you know my name. It's Chris Lafferty. I've been filling in for Philly and the Scarf while they've both been very busy. This past week or this weekend, Philly's been down in Oceanside, California, calling all of the action for the MASL playoffs. As you know, he's one of the broadcasters, the play-by-play commentator for the Empire Strikers out in Ontario. They competed in the playoffs for the first time since 2021. They had a wonderful season, made it down there. Unfortunately, fell just short, 2-4, to their arch rivals, the San Diego Sockers, who are looking poised to make another run this year at the Ron Newman Cup. The Philly's going to be down there all weekend, along with Panda, calling all of the action down there for all the games. He's been doing such a great job. The league was like, hey, could we have you do the rest of them too? So Philly's really been taking on a lot of responsibility in the indoor soccer world. And if you haven't been to a game out in Ontario, I definitely recommend next season checking out one of the Empire Strikers games and seeing it for yourself. We talk about it a lot on here. And well, I hope that everybody finally gets a chance to go out there and visit. And well, where's Scarf? Usually it's been a lot of Scarf and I this season, but Scarf's been out of the country. He's still down there doing, he's in Costa Rica right now. Costa Rica doing a service trip with the middle school students that he teaches with his school. Every year they do a wonderful service trip outside of the country, gives the students a really good chance to learn and experience some cultures outside of the U.S. and gives them a chance to give back as well to the world. So great work down there by Scarf. We're glad he's doing well. Glad he's having another great trip as he does this every year, and we look forward to having him back. I want to thank everybody here for being with me on a Sunday. I know wasn't the most exciting game yesterday, so you probably weren't too anxious to get to this episode, but it's one that we're gonna get through just for consistency's sake here. And there's gonna be a lot to talk about. Hopefully, everybody in the chat is having a good morning. And yeah, just kind of one that we weren't too sure how it was gonna go coming into it. We knew that we were coming off a huge win against Inter Miami in like one of the CONCACAF tournament round with them, and we were going to have to face a hungry Houston team who, up until yesterday, was winless on the season. They had no wins. Their home crowd was definitely getting behind them, though, which was a good sign for them if you're the Houston front office, knowing that your fans are at least getting behind you and not looking to jump ship just quite yet. Their fans are doing a pretty good job down there supporting everybody. So let's see. My morning or my afternoon yesterday kind of got off to a late start. I had had kind of a weird wonky scheduling that whole delay that we had kind of threw me off for a moment. We had a 30-minute weather delay. There were heavy rains down in Houston. They were seeing a bad storm. Their grounds crew, though, was able to clear everything up after the rain subsided. And well, then there were giant puddles of standing water. They showed some great shots of that on the Apple TV broadcast. And the grounds crew cleared everything up about 30 minutes after we were scheduled to start. Things were underway, so a great job by that crew there to get everything ready. And well, we didn't have to wait too long. And I did things a little differently for this. I still had to run some errands. I was running behind all day, but I want to just say thank goodness to Dave Denholm, our radio announcer. Being able to drive around and get all my stuff done before I can actually sit down and settle into my house and watch the game. Having Dave Denholm on the radio is just clutch. And I can't recommend it enough. If you're ever on the road or driving, Dave Denholm is just top notch for his broadcast. The way that Dave Denholm just carries you through everything is just it's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. So big shout out and thank you to Dave for keeping me up to date with everything that was going on for the first about 20 minutes or so of that game. Anyway, we got some news and notes. Just not much going on right now. Basically, everything's just in preparation for the next leg of the CONCACAF tournament. LAFC will be staying or in Miami for the next few days. They're going straight there from Houston, wasting no time. Gonna avoid any of the back and forth travel, which I think is great. Keep the guys rested, keep them healthy, keep them sharp. Let's see. Today we have LAFC 2, who unfortunately was eliminated in their round of the U.S. Open Cup last week at the hands of AV Alta FC. They'll be playing Houston Dynamo 2 today in Houston at SaberCat Stadium. That match is at 4 p.m. today. Hopefully those guys have a little better luck than we did. Angel City, if you're looking for any Angel City updates, their next match is going to be April 12th. They got a little bit of a break with some international play going on right now. And then they travel to, stop me if you heard this before, Houston. They're going to play the Houston Dash on April 12th. As a reminder, though, for all your ACFC needs, be sure to listen to Angel City Chicks and follow the Angel City Chicks on all your social media platforms. Also, the Mauricio Facio Futsal Court in Southeast LA, fundraising for that is still underway. LAFC and the LAFC Foundation and the 3252 are partnering to build a futsal court in Southeast LA in Mo's honor. And the link to donate to that is always in the Defenders of the Bank bio. We hope we can make a donation, and we just really want to see this futsal court get off the ground, hopefully soon. And if you haven't seen it yet, once you enter the stadium for our next match, be sure to go to the north end wall, right where the entrance to the 3252 is, and check out the beautiful mural that was made, memorializing Mauricio Facio. Take a moment, check it out of the stadium. It really is stunning when you check it out, and a wonderful tribute to a great man who did so much for LAFC. And unfortunately, we lost too soon. But I love to see that the club is continuing on his memory. Thank you we got King Lucero in the chat. A very good morning to you, my friend. Good to have everybody here. LAFC are very nice, and we give teams their first. Yes, you know what? I said it on One More Sleep that we wouldn't be charitable and just here for donations and kind of throw them one for this one, but apparently I was wrong with that. We are the kind souls at LAFC said, "Hey, Houston, we know you're struggling. We know you're having a rough go of things. Let's give you the opportunity here to really take that first win and send the crowd home happy, even if they were a little soggy." But hey, you know what? It's there's a lot more of that to come. Let's in this episode. We'll get into that very shortly. And for this one, we don't have too much of this day in LAFC history. There were just not many things going on for April 5th in the world of LAFC. So with that said, I want to just jump right into this game, LAFC versus Houston yesterday. One that we were, well, maybe not so much looking forward to, but hopefully not looking past either. It was kind of what you might call a trap game. Some might call that. I don't always like that phrase, but I think in this case, I don't want to say that LAFC found themselves overlooking it, but they were definitely in a position where they had to uh, make sure that they stretched out their roster enough and put in a little bit of an unorthodox team than they normally would to make sure that we have the ability to handle all of our business with not only MLS play going on, but also a really large high stakes cup going on at the same time in season. So with that, we went down to Houston, which a place that has not been too kind to us. In fact, Houston also has been pretty stingy with us lately. If you look at the previous head-to-head matchups with them, we haven't really scored on them in, geez, years. It looks like at this point. And the last 5 matchups, I want to say, we just have not been able to put up any points against them. Either they've been a draw or they've been a loss for us. So we were hoping to really get that script flipped on this one and start to put away this game like we knew that we should, especially coming off of such a dynamic, no pun intended, match against Miami last week. Just looking at this, the last time that LAFC put up any points, any goals against Houston was the aforementioned Western Conference final in 2003 when we went up 2-0 on over Houston Dynamo to advance to the MLS Cup that year. Before that, the last time that we scored against them was September 18th, 2022. So kind of a weird history. Here we have a team that's kind of been down on their luck this year. Didn't really have a great year last year, but always kind of dangerous, especially when it comes to us. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to put up much offense, which has been the case for the last 2 to 3 years, which against this Houston team. Kind of confusing as always, but here we go. Let's see if things would be different for us this time. So getting into this game, their head coach is Ben Olsen, and they came out in a pretty unique lineup. What we saw from them was a 4-2-3-1 lineup, and the announcers talked about that a lot throughout the broadcast, making some personnel changes, just trying to get things going down there, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. And they did a pretty good job with that. Definitely had some success and made the right calls. Their in goal for them was Blake Gillingham, who's a rookie who was signed on Valentine's Day to Houston. So still fairly new, getting a lot of trust from his coach to make things happen, and he came up big time today. Familiar face and Franco Escobar up front in front of him, Obafemi Awodisu, Eric Swichenko, Griffin Dorsey, Junior Urso in the midfield, Artur in the midfield, Sebastian Kolicek, and Amin Bassi as well. Also, working as a winger instead of a forward was Jack McGlynn, who you'll remember from the 2022 MLS Cup. Still a young guy, but finds his way in Houston and is starting to get his footing down there. And the coaching staff is really happy with him. And then my player to watch, who didn't do too much to put his team on the board offensively, but was a major headache throughout the game and definitely featured forward Ezequiel Ponce. They did have a few subs who would see action: Ibrahim Eliu, Nico Ladero, familiar face from those formidable Seattle teams that have been thorn in our side for many, many years, and Ethan Bartlow. Now we're going to talk about this lineup for LAFC. Our guys came out in a really unorthodox lineup than what we've seen. 8 personnel changes, and if you listen to the MLS broadcast on Apple TV, they must have mentioned that more than 8 times. So in goal, we had Hugo Lloris, no surprise there. Who's that? And then in front of him, we went with Nkosi Tafari, who normally has been a closer for us, but was able to get the start today, which was a good sign for him and a good boost of confidence for him, I hope. Also in the back, we had Marlon, who played a great game. Marlon played a great game against Inter Miami, coming back, and Eddie Segura as well, coming off of a good game against Miami. One notable change in the backfield was Artem Smolyakov getting the start. Second or third start for him on the year. Love to see it from him. He's been playing really well and providing us a lot of chances, both offensively and defensively. And moving into the midfield, you had Odin Thiago Holm, not Holm, if you listen to the Apple TV broadcast. Odin Thiago Holm, Adam Saldana, and Yaya Boa in the midfield. And up front, we had David Martinez, Denis Bouanga, and Olivier Giroud starting off at the number 9. Good to see Olivier back, healthy again. He had been out for a little while with a leg injury. So, for as much not controversy, but as much maybe disappointment, or basically I call him the lightning rod that Olivier Giroud has been, he at least is getting healthy and providing opportunities. And I thought in this game, it was good for him to come back and try to get his feet under him again. It's always going to be difficult no matter who you are, though, when you're playing with such a shakeup in personnel going into the match. Our subs that also saw action in a flurry of substitutions later in the game were Sergi Palencia, Timothy Tillman, Cengiz Under, Nathan Ordaz, and Mark Delgado. Also in the 18, but did not see the field, were keeper David Ochoa, Aaron Long, Maxime Chenot, and Jude Terry. As we talked about, Steve Cherundolo put out a very different lineup for this team in for LAFC. There were 8 personnel changes, and it was an opportunity for guys to who were mostly on the bench or just enjoying a free warm up throughout the last few games to finally get some minutes and get something going there, get themselves in a rhythm. There's a lot of talk of did we kind of just punt this game? Did we let it go? Did we, maybe overlook Houston and really only prioritize who we were seeing with Miami coming up this following week? And I got to say, I don't think we were, given how Steve has talked in press conferences and his overall attitude throughout the years is that he's never really overlooking anything. He does every year that he's been here, he's had to manage a really heavy schedule with all of the in-season tournaments that go on as well as MLS play. So I would never say that Steve is overlooking a team. He's always doing his best to get everybody prepared. And I think with this one, it was just a matter of, well, um, you had to get everybody rotated and keep guys rested going into Miami with everything that's on the line down there. We talked about in One More Sleep that you never want to have a throwaway game and treat things like they're not important because at the end of the year, as you know, it really does come down to decision day. And well, you want all the points you can get. So even though it's here we are in early April, those, you don't want to be looking back at points that you left on the table that you could have had now, which would have bolstered you at the end of the season. So hopefully this does not come back to bite us and it's not one that we regret. But nevertheless, we have to just move on from that, and we'll just have to see how the rest of the season plays out. But you don't want to hang too much on this one game, but it is important, and I think the coaching staff knows that, and they did their best with all to get our guys not only rhythm but also an opportunity. So while it was a gamble, it looking on the bright side of things, it was a chance for a lot of these guys to show what they're made of and also say, hey, as these tournaments go on, not only in CONCACAF but also in the upcoming Leagues Cup later this summer, hey, maybe they're saying to Steve Trundle, hey, let me show you what I got and that I can also be a part of for the first team going forward. So it's all about how you look at it. And I think that LAFC, our guys were prepared coming into it and played really well. But as we talked about before, Dave Denholm kind of carried me through the first 20 minutes of the game as I was finishing up my errands, jumped on in there. And as I got home and sat down to really settle into the game, Jack McGlynn goes and gets himself a yellow card. And so if you're superstitious, you're wondering, well, Chris, why don't you get back up and then sit back down and get him a second? Unfortunately, I tried that, didn't work, as we'll talk about later with Jack McGlynn. But starting the game off with a yellow card for Jack McGlynn, thought that was it was a good sign for us that we were going to put a threat like him on notice and make sure that he was a little tampered down there with everything and make sure that having that yellow card on him that maybe he would be a little bit hesitant in the remainder of this game. Jumping forward a few minutes, there were some good touches from Giroud, who found Smoliakov, who unfortunately was not able to find the back of the net. Took a shot, but it just went pretty high on that one. But a good look from Giroud, starting to see him get his feet back underneath him and start to find some guys and get his chemistry going with everybody, which was promising for you. Then about a minute later, this is where things got interesting. And a funny note here, uh, Davi Martinez and Bessie got tangled up a little bit, and it seemed like throughout the game, Martinez was really kind of injecting his physicality in everything, and the referee had been taking notice of that, but didn't really uh, discipline Martinez at all. So, but he was keeping an eye on him, and here they were. They got tangled up, and Bessie took exception to how Martinez handled everything with him. And interestingly enough, who comes in to be the voice of reason and the calm, level head in this situation? Franco Escobar. That's right. Franco Escobar, uh, former LAFC player, typically regarded as a hothead with us. He let's see, he's usually one that we have to send a lot of guys in to calm down and pull off people, whatever. So Franco Escobar flying in to be the calming voice was something that made me chuckle a little bit, given his history with us and just throughout the league. That would, however, that interaction, however, would get Martinez his yellow card. Uh, and as the referee was running up to him, he was counting 1, 2, 3 to let him know, hey, it wasn't just that play right there, but it was kind of a culmination of a few things going on throughout the game. I think they called it persistent aggression or something. But anyway, Martinez was on notice. It wasn't the worst of fouls, but he's got to keep an eye on that. Good morning to Oscar in the chat. Want to thank everybody here who's woken up early with us and got things going talking about last night's Houston match. Right after that whole exchange with Martinez, it looked like maybe karma was going to be on Franco's Escobar's side, as he had a nice little breakout and went 1v1 for the keeper, but then was not to be. Then shortly after that, heading back the other way, LAFC has a pretty exciting break heading down, and it was Yaya Boa who was able to get the shot off. Unfortunately, the shot sailed just high. A good look for Yaboa, who's been a really good member of this team, just to kind of a steady presence out there. Hasn't seen a lot of time throughout the season so far, but has been there working hard and always ready whenever we call upon him. So it's happy to see Yaboa get his chances and to have the confidence to take those shots. Just would like to see them come down a little bit. But other than that, he did pretty good. In the 41st minute, you had Escobar to Bassi. Bassi had a dummy that, well, would have been really dangerous for LAFC had anybody from Houston been there. Instead, the ball just rolled right through. But what we're seeing at this point is Houston really starting to get some chances and get their offensive rhythm together. This is a team in Houston that they haven't had too much luck, but they are building their chemistry and getting a lot of things going. Finally, they're still getting their feet underneath them. And I think this game for them, with all the excitement that they had coming into it, was one where things were going to start clicking for them. They were going to have a little hiccups, just like we saw with that one play. However, they just couldn't put it together, but they were starting to knock on the door and to make things look dangerous for LAFC. Moving on to in the 44th minute, we had a set piece off a foul by Marlon. It was a flick header for Marlon, actually, but it just went wide and out of play and dangerous. So, yeah, just one where, again, little fouls are giving Houston opportunities and just giving them a chance to knock on that door. Fortunately, we were able to hold them off in that moment. Just went wide and out of play. But at this point, Houston's strategy also seems to be, let's get the refs involved. I think that they knew they were going to be outmatched against LAFC, but it seemed to be their MO of really embellishing a lot of that LAFC would take on them. I think they should have just stood up against LAFC and not really let things bother them as much as they did. And it seemed like they were constantly appealing to the refs, which is not uncommon for a soccer game, let's be honest. But with this team, I think they knew that they were going to have to get LAFC in trouble, get LAFC off their game, and make sure that the referees were there to really, assist them and give guys yellows, change things up tactically for them, and maybe discipline the other guys and get foul calls their way, because they were going to need all the help they can get. And well, it seemed like that's what they were doing, definitely with the embellishment. And LAFC at this point, they just seemed to be about putting out the fires. It didn't seem like the attack was too strong. They were just trying to mitigate all the damage that was being done with Houston's embellishment and just try to keep things on their side and just keep themselves in it with a chance and not concede that first goal. The 45th minute, there was a corner with a lot of contact, loose ball out for another corner for Houston. It just seemed to be Houston was just really attacking on the set piece there from the corner. Marlon cleared it out, but eventually it goes out of bounds for another corner, which ended up being the fifth corner in the half for Houston. So really, scary, like we said, knocking on that door was Houston, but we were able to hold them off still. Nevertheless, you don't want to have too many corners going against you like that. Anyway, nothing would come about of that one, and we move into the first half. Thoughts on the first half were this. I thought that it was uh, nail biting in a sense that the stakes weren't too high in this game, but we were constantly wondering, like, is something going to happen? And the longer that things go on without our offense really getting going and getting those opportunities and those shots on goal and kind of putting the dagger in Houston early, the more you start to wonder, is that going to play into Houston's favor and let them take advantage of us and maybe get lucky off some of these shots? Like I said, the refs are getting involved in this one. uh, Houston's finding a little bit of confidence as they get better and as they get further and further along. They get a little more comfortable with themselves. They had a unique lineup to start the game, which we talked about, putting some guys in other positions that maybe they haven't played before, but they weren't doing so well in their other positions. So now maybe they're finding a little bit of an edge and some comfort. Especially Jack McGlynn, who everybody was talking about how had been up front, moved him back to a winger to see if that would help him at all, and it pretty much, did. He looked a lot of comfort. He looked a lot more comfortable out there than he had in the previous few games. But we go into the half, nothing, and it's looking pretty good for LAFC. I think that we still have the stronger team at this point, and it's just going to be a matter of playing our game, sticking to it, and seeing who's going to rise up to the challenge. We talked about this game being a gamble, but also it's an opportunity for a lot of these players who haven't seen a lot of burn this year. So hoping that somebody would be inspired and really find the way to find the back of the net against Houston. Coming out of the half, uh, immediately pressured from Houston, diving save by Lloris in the 50th minute. And then shortly after that, Eddie Segura gets tangled up with Ezekiel Ponce. Segura goes down and needs medical attention. It was a weird play because you see him get wrapped up, and it looked like, and everyone was pointing to their elbows to signal what was going on. It looked like Eddie Segura's arm got whipped behind him, and maybe just something with his elbow, uh, with his arm. It wasn't anything with the leg. Fortunately, we know Eddie had those knee problems for a couple of seasons. But a little bit of an oddity that he'd be down on the ground writhing for the elbow. Took a while to get that cleared up. He has to come off the field, which is pretty dangerous because we only had 10 men out there for a few minutes while everything got going for Houston, and they were off to the races. Anyway, Eddie comes back in the 57th minute, about 3 or 4 minutes after he finally goes off the pitch. And then Jack McGlynn gets it up along the sideline, just past the midfield, and he's able to find a lot of space at the top of the 18 all by himself, not even looking for his teammates, just finds it, gets to the top of the 18, and fires it all the way to the bottom left corner, just past the diving Hugo Lloris, putting Houston up 1-0. And at this point, I think everybody's just going, what are we going to do? Because in all of our matches so far in MLS, we have not come out with a win as long as the other team goes up first. And as long as we go up first and we score first, we've been able to win all of our games. LAFC, we have no draws in the season. It's either a win or a loss. And this was not a good sign given the momentum that Houston had coming out of the half and how we were looking a little bit disjointed. Houston goes up 1-0. Now we'd have to get two for the win, and without having too many chances before that. So it was looking like a tough task, and Houston, who for them it was just all about getting their confidence back in this match. They were riding high, and you can tell they were all really pumped. It was sad. They all celebrated in the far corner where their Houston 18 were warming up, and you see Eric Duenas, our old academy player and former first teamer, out there celebrating with his new club. Kind of stung a little bit, but nevertheless, LAFC knows they've got a big, not a big hole, but a tough task ahead of them to get out of this. How do they respond? Well, in the 61st minute, Adam Saldana gets himself his first yellow card for penalties. Like we said, Houston, they were going to stick to that plan too of keeping the referees involved, and now being up 1-0, clinging to that one goal, they were sure going to do that for the rest of the way as well. Now, LAFC almost got caught sleeping off of the free kick, but fortunately it was cleared away for the corner. That's just a few minutes later in the 64th. Look, now that you're down and you're trying to get your bearings back again, uh, for LAFC, keeping that focus is going to be paramount. And it looked like we were finding ourselves maybe not too familiar or too sure with what to do in that moment. A lot of, like I said, a lot of new guys still getting used to playing with each other in a game like this, and almost 2-0 for Houston. However, we were fortunate enough, keeps it at 1-0, and then 5 minutes later, in the 69th minute, that's where Steve says, "Enough, okay, we are going to throw everything at it. We saw enough from our starters in this one. We're really going to make the effort to at least tie this game up, if not go for the win." Puts out four substitutions in the 69th minute there, really going heavy with it, bringing out the heavy hitters. Brought out Timothy Tillman, brought on Timothy Tillman, Cengiz Under, and uh, Sergi Palencia and Nathan Ordaz to try to get something going with his offense here. Nathan Ordaz coming off such a big game against Miami. It was just, a matter of time. That's a guy he's earned Steve's trust, like Steve talked about in the press conference last Thursday. And somebody that he just somebody who earned his trust and somebody that Steve believed in. Like, hey, if we need one goal, we're gonna send Nathan out there and just see what he can get for us. So Nathan Ordaz looked pretty good, but unfortunately, not too much of an impact on this game. Although you love to see the strategy of finally starting to throw the kitchen sink at Houston at this point in this game, knowing that you're running out of time. So love to see that. Unfortunately, 74th minute, you get a yellow card for Eddie with a hit to the head. So Eddie Segura on a yellow card, and then a yellow for Houston in the 75th minute for basically running his mouth to the official, not happy with how things have been called for LAFC. Before that, really takes issue with the play before that. I got Eddie a yellow card and starts running his mouth. Ref does his best to try to calm everybody down, keep everything going smoothly, whatever. This guy just would not stop with it. So on a yellow card, really not looking good for him. That was Sebastian Kowalczyk for Houston. Gets himself a stupid yellow right there. And, he's been kind of an integral player in this matchup so far. So you don't want to get yourself a second yellow, especially if it's going to be from just jaw jacking all day. The guy's not going to stop running his mouth. So that puts himself in, a lot of trouble. He's kind of walking on eggshells at that point. Um, and then, and to prove that point, just 2 minutes later, surprisingly, Kowalczyk, he goes to stop Under and ends up fouling him, grabs him by the shirt, and which what with what should have been a second yellow, ends up being nothing, just getting a talking to from the referee. Probably a big gift, knowing the potential, or knowing what the outcome would be for getting a well-deserved yellow card right there. Would be a red card suspension for him. The referee opts not to and just gives him a talking to, which is a big old gift. Although, if you're asking me, look, if the guy does two things to deserve two yellows, you give them to him. I don't know why you're not there to play the judge and jury for him. I think you just call what it is and give this guy his second yellow. Anyway, not too much longer after that, he gets sent off. He gets subbed out. Does Kowalczyk? Basically, I think that was his coach just saying, "Hey, let's not poke that bear one too many times." Shortly after that, Bouanga gets a shot off, but unfortunately, it's just a little wide, does not go in. Bouanga had a pretty good game. Definitely was able to find a space and dribble through a lot of defenders, a lot like vintage Denis. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get anything going off of his foot for this one. And speaking of yellow cards, I'm sorry, speaking of substitutions, in the 80th minute, that's when Steve Cherundolo sends on Mark Delgado to bring out Yaya Boa, who had a pretty good game in his limited minutes so far this season. He's at least getting shots off during everything, so that was pretty good. Good to see. And then in the 81st minute, an incredible possession for Eddie Segura. He looks for the redirect header off a pass into the box. Unfortunately, it just went a little wide and was an incredible save for Houston. But you just felt like now at this point, with all the substitutions, things are really turning around and going LAFC's way. And you're like, wow, something's going to give. And you're just waiting for that moment to happen. 83rd minute, Cengiz Under gets it and fires from distance, but it's a little too high. And then the next minute, Under gets dragged down in the box, but again, no call from Franco Escobar. They spend a lot of time holding everything up, thinking, all right, we're going to look this, or we're going to not look at it. Look, in the box, Cengiz Under does a good job of, at least getting himself in position to get a foul and hopefully get a penalty kick in that moment. Franco Escobar grabs the jersey of Cengiz Under, which should have been a card in itself. Then he gets pulled down. The referee decides to play on, and everyone's wondering, why would you do that? And about 30 seconds later was when finally the referee goes, hey, hold on, everybody, we're going to wait. Talking to VAR, seeing if they're going to review it. After a long wait, they determined nothing to look at there, saying it wasn't too much. And then you just find, so you're scratching your head thinking, it's like, all right, well, for some of the fouls that have been called, how do you not call something on that? And not only not give a foul to LAFC or for LAFC, but also sent Houston back with the ball going up midfield. So kind of frustrating there in that moment. I thought that would have been our chance, but look, it's always going to be a problem when you're relying on the officials to bail you out in a game. After that, in the 87th minute, you see Nico Ladero come on for Bessie. They pull Bessie, and Nico Ladero has been a thorn in our side for many years with the Seattle Sounders teams. Comes in, and you're wondering, holding out of that 1-0 lead, they're looking to extend it. Definitely a guy like Nico Ladero, who's been not the Nico Ladero of old this season, and the one that Houston would have wanted, but he's always a threat to us, as we know, and somebody you can never overlook. So seeing him come on is kind of an ominous sign, but nevertheless, he's out there. Houston definitely not so much parking the bus, but definitely playing just to hold on to that 1-0 lead, hoping, though, that Nico Ladero in the dying minutes could make something happen for them. And if nothing else, give Bessie a break. So, hey, look, in the 88th minute, things are kind of starting to break down for LAFC. Talk about that Houston offense that they were looking for in the dying minutes. Well, they're making their way downfield, and things are just falling apart in the box for LAFC. Houston's getting some shots off, some passes in there. But then they're looking at, and then as soon as they're going to get a shot, fortunately, Nkosi Tafari is just able to clear the ball out, and it goes out in the back for a corner, leading to the end of regulation, where it's told it will get 7 minutes of stoppage. So you got to be thinking at this point, at the end of the second half, we haven't been able to put anything up on the board. Houston's got that 1-0 lead they've been just clinging to the whole time. And you got to think, though, well, 7 minutes, we're starting to look better. We had a few fumbles towards the end, but with all of our fresh legs out there, could something happen? Could things turn around? And could LAFC salvage a point on the road against Houston in this one? Something they, don't want to give up is a loss to such a down team like Houston Dynamo. So they're going for it, going full bore, hoping that they can make something happen with this gift of 7 minutes. In the 96th minute, Segura wins the battle, but unfortunately can't get it to go. It goes just wide. And that was pretty much all of it for the offense for LAFC in stoppage time. Basically, just lots of time killed in the stoppage time play here. Not much happens. Lots of running back and forth, not too many shots on goal. Houston runs it down with one of their subs who came on, basically providing their fresh legs for them. It was what was his name? Oh, Ibrahim Eliu. Basically goes out for a nice Sunday stroll with that ball heading back upfield towards the end of the stoppage time period, about the 95th. Brings it up and basically just says, "I'm going to make you come to me and make sure everybody has to just come." And he's going to waste as much time as he could while keeping the ball active. Anyway, he ends up getting it out, dribbled away from him, out for a corner kick. That corner kick is just brought in short, and we hit the 97-minute mark, going past it, setting up for that corner kick. Houston, their only strategy is to just make it so that LAFC doesn't get the ball. They waste enough time, and finally the referee blows the whistle on this, and mercifully, Houston walks away with their victory, and LAFC goes on the road, falls short, getting no points against Houston Dynamo, giving the excited fans in the Houston who stuck around, to their credit, after that weather delay, giving them something to head home happy with. Now, the way I look at this game, it's kind of like we talked about earlier in the episode. It was one that was just gonna be a rough one for LAFC, in terms of, you have a lot of guys who don't have the chemistry, working together, playing together outside of practice. So to put them in a game situation on the road, coming off a weather delay, against a team who is scrapping to get their first win, not only at home but in uh, on the season period, you're kind of, you're walking into a cauldron of troubles that maybe you weren't anticipating fully. But Houston definitely was going to bring everything they had to it. So a disappointing loss, frustrating, knowing, especially coming off of what we did against Miami and how exciting that was. But the good thing is, a lot of our guys are going to stay fresh heading into next week's CONCACAF Champions Cup game against Miami. That's leg number 2 on Wednesday. And right now, LAFC is standing at, after 7 matches played, they're standing at 3 wins, no draws, and 4 losses, which is good for 8th in the West. Now, look, it's way too early to start talking about records and standings and everything, but it's good to see that LAFC is at least staying in that playoff position, staying in the top 8. Been kind of a upside down little season for the Western Conference. Teams that you normally didn't see in the playoff race in the last few years are starting to make their way back. So uh, for LAFC, again, not too much to worry about at this point. You have so much to go with the 2 games going on, the 2 tournaments going on at once. The tournament for CONCACAF, as well as your regular season. Excuse me. Um, there's got to be a lot of shifting and adjusting and balancing. But at some point, you like to see from our guys um, the ability to, even if you're not getting playing time every game, the ability to be playmakers out there. Uh, Especially for some of our guys who you don't see a lot, like Yaya Boa and Kosi Tafari. They had decent games yesterday, I want to say. I think that you had Yaya Boa. It was encouraging to see him get some shots off, for sure. And Kosi Tafari didn't have maybe the best defensive game, but came up big when we needed him. And I thought that that's what I like to see from those guys. And hopefully, it's an audition for them. Hopefully, an audition for them to get more minutes in the regular season, or in some of these tournament games that we're playing. Let's see, Joel Sand, I get the strategy to get the 70 minutes with a rotated squad and then make the subs and put the starters in. Was unfortunate. Martinez didn't score, and the score in the first, and subs didn't have enough time at the end. Yeah, I agree. The subs, maybe I would have liked to see him come on early. Again, I think Steve was hoping that the guys that he put out there to start would be able to make something happen and take advantage of Houston being down. But they weren't, and I think finally he was like, "Well, I better do it now, if if any." So yeah, he brought it out. I would have liked to. I think they brought in a lot of momentum early coming off the bench, and it was like a whole new team out there. So I would have. Yeah, looking back on it, I would have liked to have seen that more early on and given ourselves a better chance to get something in to at least walk away with a point. But just wasn't to be, and I don't know. I really can't fault Trundle for putting them in when he did. I think a lot of it is hindsight at this point. But no, I like your point though. As far as Martinez, I think that it looked like maybe the plan was to keep um, take Bawanga off, and then I'm sorry, yeah, take Bawanga off, and leave Martinez in for the rest of the game. But it looked like Martinez got hurt right before the substitutions were coming on. So Martinez, I think they pulled him just to make sure that he was healthy and that things didn't get any worse for him, and you kept Bawanga out there. One encouraging note from this game, I would say, is Bawanga playing all 90 plus. Coming on there, the guy's a gamer, and he's somebody who wants to play. And I think for him, it's good for him to play because he keeps his rhythm going. And heading into Monday, I'd hate for him to be off. And really, I think it would be a good. I thought this game was a good chance for him to maybe kind of break that dam finally and get a ball in the back of the net and get his goal scoring going for the season. Wasn't to be, but still, I love the effort from Denis. That's one thing about him you can never count that out is his effort. So, look, folks, like we talked about, uh, LAFC goes on the road to Miami to play the next leg of the CONCACAF uh, Cup after that on Wednesday, and then resuming MLS play the following Saturday, April 12th, against San Jose at home, where we welcome our old friend Chicho Arango back to BMO Stadium. Gerardo Rios says, "Sup, y'all?" He's checking in from work. Hey, hope work is going well for you, my friend. Working on a Sunday. Jeez, hats off to you. Uh, so a couple of games coming up for LAFC, some big ones here. San Jose, who not off to the start that they wanted to be, but they definitely bolstered their lineup and their coaching staff in the offseason. So they're definitely becoming a threat, and will certainly be a threat to us at home with everybody, including Chicho. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But first, can't overlook big game in Miami coming up, hopefully to advance in the tournament. Uh, want to keep that momentum going from what we had against them last week. And I think that giving a lot of the guys the rest that they had this weekend against Houston and not playing them so much against Houston is going to be to our benefit, hopefully. And then on definitely a good move by the team of just flying the guys straight over to Miami from here. Hopefully they're there right now and able to rest and relax and get things going and save themselves that cross country trip back and forth a couple of times. So Gerardo Rios, oh man, he found that break in work. So now he's firing off his opinions with us, and I love to hear it. The most frustrating part about watching them play is that LAFC doesn't seem to have a contingency if their initial game plan doesn't work. Seems like there's not even a higher gear to shift when they need to apply pressure and get the goal. Yeah, I would agree with that. I just watching, um, looking at the team. Once all those subs came in, the four subs came in at once in the 70th minute. I was like, oh wow, this is LAFC now. This is the real team. It was it it just didn't feel like we were watching LAFC for the first 60 minutes or so. Um, we were just watching bits and pieces of them. And I got to thinking though, it's kind of uh, an embarrassment of riches for us, if you will. That hey, look, our team still looked pretty good with all of those the 8 different players going in the starting lineup that we don't normally have in there. Still feeling a really good team. And if you look around the league, I think the team that we started yesterday in Houston would match up really well against most teams. And so it's great to know that coming off the bench or still on our roster are guys who could be the difference makers and go up against teams like Miami and shut them down 1-0. So frustrating in that it didn't seem like we could get it going yesterday. When we were down, we didn't have that extra gear to kick into. But I think that once we get a more um, uh, familiar roster trotted out there for the next few games, that we'll be back to our normal ways. So frustrating, but not too concerning, if you ask me. Uh, Look, I want to thank everybody who joined us today on this Sunday morning. We're going to wrap things up here. Again, LAFC falls 1-0 to Houston, and we look ahead to our game against Miami in Miami to finish up the second leg of our round with in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, hoping to advance again, and we will be facing a tough task, definitely one tougher than this weekend, but one that I think we're definitely up for. And if anything, from what we saw from the subs yesterday and how they came on and played, and just like the fire that guys like Cengiz Under brought, Mark Delgado brought, I've got a lot of optimism heading in to our game next week. This is one that we just put in the rear view mirror and chalk it up as a loss, as they say. So look, with that, I think that's enough talking about Houston. We already know what's coming up ahead. I want to thank everybody who jumped in the chat. If you're not already, follow Defenders of the Bank on Instagram and at Defend the Bank on X, and make sure that you like, subscribe, and get all the notifications for Defenders of the Bank here on YouTube, so you never miss a live stream from us. It's been a pleasure, everybody. Looking ahead, we'll have Philly back after this. We'll have Scarf back on the 9th, coming back from Costa Rica. So no more laugh by his lonesome on this. It'll be not just my voice. You'll have the familiar tones of Philly and the Scarf, hopefully back together very soon. I want to thank everybody for listening in today, and everybody listening later on, no matter how you consume your LAFC podcast. I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you all for allowing me into your homes and to your phones and wherever you are along the interweb. I hope everyone has a wonderful Sunday, and we will see everybody here to preview Miami for one more sleep on Tuesday night. Have a wonderful Sunday, everybody. Bye bye.